Michelle on the Raw and Real channel, and this channel is dedicated to healing from adult children of dysfunctional homes or alcoholic home issues and how that relates to all of our emotional issues as well as emotional eating issues, which can then lead to health issues. That is what happened to me. And I wanted to explain in today's video kind of how that, the hows of how that develops. When we consume foods like sugar or white flour or even fats, they contribute to low blood sugar, otherwise known as hypoglycemia. And research has actually shown that symptoms of hypoglycemia actually cut off blood sugar supply to the brain, particularly the front of the brain, which is known for our higher functioning processes of reasoning and processing, more complex transactions. So somebody who is an alcoholic, when they get from a alcohol binge, they can get hypoglycemia, and this creates the craving for alcohol. And so that's one of the reasons that sets them up for addiction. These people oftentimes are severely addicted to sugar and flour, and this hypoglycemia from the lack of fiber and the high carbohydrate content from those foods sets up their addiction for alcohol. When they get these hypoglycemic episodes is when they are most apt to resort to violence or screaming or child abuse or be imprisoned or to have blackouts, because the brain has no glucose. And so if the brain has no glucose, it's not able to develop self-control and to be able to stay calm. It's actually almost like a brain allergy. Well, in adult children of alcoholics who are being raised by parents who are now in these hypoglycemia roller coaster stages where they're getting blackouts and rages, children will be neglected, they will be abused, they will be shamed, they will be rejected, abandoned, and all of these experiences are highly scary and can cause post-traumatic stress disorder. So not only are you eating the same foods that create hypoglycemia in you and are very addictive, but you now learn that the way to disassociate from that incredibly painful, those memories is by getting hypoglycemia yourself. So when we tend to binge on foods that will cause hypoglycemia. So we'll get this blood sugar surge, and then when we get that low, we can get that zone out. We can get that feeling of brain fog. We can get that feeling of complete disconnection from the world, which is in actuality what we want. We don't want to cope. We're triggered. We're overwhelmed with what we're feeling at the moment, and we don't have any other self-soothing skills or a support group to go to be able to cope with these intense memories and feelings. And we're not being validated because there's a lot of adult children out there who are unrecovered, who are themselves very shaming and judgmental and competitive, and they are reinforcing the behaviors that you have to disconnect from yourself and to not validate the pain that you're currently going through. So my coaching practice is actually going to be going into the realm of fusing together how can we support ourselves with high fiber foods and high nutrition so that we can stay present, so that we can then work through some of these issues and want to continue to stay present as we go through these processes. Now, one of the techniques that we use is what I call a rescue process, where we take you back to some of your painful memories and we reenact them together. Only this time we do what I call is a rescue process, where we actually talk about what I and many other people would have done had we been there in that room with you during that particular painful event. We'll take you out of the situation. We'll call the authorities. We'll talk back to that person and tell them to leave you alone. Whatever it may be, but we're going to give you the empathy and the support and rewrite that memory for you. Learning how to get this outside validation so that you can start reprogramming your own negative critical inner parent that is one of acceptance and one of support and one of loving, because good parents, loving parents, never shame their children. They teach, they guide, they support, but they don't shame, they don't abandon, they don't hit, they don't criticize, they don't belittle. Those are all behaviors of an unrecovered adult child themselves. Now, you may be wondering if you're an adult child. I can guarantee you most people are. It oftentimes will be in the grandparents who were the ones with the alcohol or chemical addiction problem. And so you were raised by adult children yourself, so maybe that might be where some of your confusion is. Maybe your parent wasn't an alcoholic, but maybe they were mentally ill and addicted to psychotic drugs, or maybe they were a hypochondriac and they knew how to manipulate their particular illness to get more drugs, more pain medication, and so it made them unavailable or loopy or emotional. My mother passed away from a prescription drug overdose of anti-anxiety medication. She had relapsed and was drinking again, but we were in denial about her prescription drug use, because she had always been medicating on so many different medications for her high cholesterol and all these other things. I mean, she literally had in our kitchen one of the cupboards full of just all of her medications. And there would be times when I'd see her slurring her speech almost as if she was drunk, but it was the prescription drugs. So make no mistake, if you're familiar with my Fruit Doctor channel, I'm very anti-medication, and one of the reasons is for this. In order for us to emote, in order for us to fully show up and be present in our lives, we have to be awake and sane and coherent and conscious, and we can't do that when we're under the influence of medications. So maybe you have seen yourself that when you switched over to a raw vegan diet or a vegan diet, that all of a sudden you started having all of this stuff come up, and you really started maybe feeling some anxiety or depression because you didn't know how to cope with all of that. And so that is where this channel is going, is helping you to get those tools. I'm in the process of writing a book on this, as well as developing a class for where I will be volunteering down at the county jail for the girls down there on nutrition. Fusing the two together, because you really need both. You can go to ACA meetings, and those are certainly helpful, but you won't necessarily get the nutrition aspect of it. And then you can go to Overeaters Anonymous, where you're, talking about, the white flour and the sugars and maybe the caffeine or, whatnot in processed foods, but you might not get the emotional support that you need. And so the two together is really, really powerful. And in fact, if you're familiar with 12-step groups, if you've ever gone to AA, you'll see that a lot of them are heavily caffeinated with a lot of sugar and donuts there. And so usually it's taking it from one addiction to another. And so we need to get sober completely. And fruits and vegetables and whole foods is the way to support that sobriety process. And then, of course, exercise helps with dopamine and serotonin, and it's a healthy release. But you can get exercise addiction as well. It could be literally a way of running away from your feelings. So getting back into your body, getting back into your breathing, getting in touch with, and us ACOAs, we leave our bodies a lot because it wasn't safe. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you would like to get in touch with me for some coaching, you can reach me at either thefruitdoctor@gmail.com or keepingitrawandreal@gmail.com as well. My name's Michelle. Thank you for watching, and I wish you lots of peace and joy. Take care. Bye-bye.